So I have a fun video for you today. We're comparing two Grand SEIKO GMTs, both of them technically quartz, both very similar in spec. However, they're actually pretty different. We're going to be taking a look at the spring drive SBGE253 that gets a 9R66, and then we're going to take a look at a 9F Quartz GMT, that is the SBGN021. Both of these watches are very similar, but at the same time, very different. And one of the biggest differences is the price. So let's flip the camera and take a look at two GMTs from Grand SEIKO. So today we're doing a comparison of two Grand SEIKO GMTs. I have a 9F in my left hand, and then I have a spring drive GMT in my right. The prices are pretty different. One is around $6,200, that is the spring drive, and the other one, the 9F, is $4,500. How do they stack up against each other? How are they spec'd? Before we get into it though, I would like to say that these were lent into the channel by ExquisiteTimepieces.com. They are an authorized dealer for Grand SEIKO, so definitely check them out. I will put a link down in the description below. Please tell them that Watch Chris sent you. Both of these watches are currently available on their website, and they have plenty of other Grand SEIKOs in stock, along with many other brands. So like I said, these are somewhat similar watches. They're similar in spec, at least. So they're both on paper 40mm watches. However, you can see that the spring drive looks a little bit bigger, and that's because of the bezel. The bezel is actually thicker than the 9F Quartz, so it actually hangs over the case just a touch. So this comes in at around 40.2mm, while the 9F Quartz comes in right under 40mm at 39.9mm. There's obviously a thickness difference, so one of the advantages of quartz, and although the spring drive is a quartz movement, it technically does have a winding rotor. It is thicker, so the thickness on this bad boy is 14.1mm, while it is only 13.1 on the 9F. So we do have a thicker case on the spring drive. However, both of them are 200 meters of water resistance. So you're getting 200 meters of water resistance from both of these. These are both part of the Sport collection. So very cool. You have the crown at around that 4 o'clock position. You have the date at the 4 o'clock position as well. So the design there is shared. The only difference there is that the crown on the quartz version is a little bit nestled into the case, and it is protected by that case. However, that makes it more difficult to use, and it is larger. So the crown is around 6.6mm on the 9F Quartz. So that is a little bit strange. I'm not sure why they went with a larger crown. I think possibly because of its design, because that it sits inside of the case a little bit, it's a lot harder to grasp, and if it was smaller, it would be almost impossible. The smaller crown on the spring drive version, that is 5.6mm, isn't tiny, but it is a little bit smaller, but it does sit further out from the case, so it's really easy to use. So the 9F version is the SBGN021, while the spring drive movement is the SBGE253. That is powered by the 9R66, which is accurate to plus or minus 15 seconds per month. While the 9F, again, sort of trumps the spring drive, it gets an accuracy of plus or minus 10 seconds per year. That is pretty phenomenal, a very accurate movement. Of course, again, another advantage of a true quartz movement. The handsets are very similar. The indices are obviously a little bit different. However, another advantage on the quartz side, there is a little bit more lume on the indices on this watch, on the Quartz 9F version. You also have pretty similar GMT hands. However, the arrow on the blue 9F is a little bit smaller, while the red arrow on the spring drive is a little bit larger and has a little bit more lume in it, so that is more visible at night. Both of these are constructed in stainless steel, so you are getting a stainless steel bracelet. There are slight differences here as well. You have more of an oyster style bracelet on the 9F, which I really like, and then you have polishing through those center links. So these are really a 5-link bracelet, and you are getting polishing on those mid links, on the outer links of that mid link that has that line of polish. And then you have polishing on the sides on both of them. There is polishing on the case, on the sides of the case for the spring drive, while you're getting brushing with a nice polished edge on the 9F Quartz version. So there's another difference. Both of them do get drilled lugs, and you get ceramic bezels on both of them. However, they are a little bit different, and it's another reason why this one wears a lot smaller. The bezel is thinner, so you have a very thin bezel on the 9F, and it sort of defines its look, as you can see. And the spring drive version obviously has a much thicker bezel, and it's a little bit more legible, I would say, as well. Handsets are almost identical. And then on the spring drive, you do get a power reserve. The power reserve floating somewhere between the 8 and 9 o'clock position. Some people will not like that because it does break up the symmetry on the dial. However, I think that the date breaks up the symmetry on this dial, on both of the dials, which is unfortunate. You do get a slight texture. It's sort of a sunburst texture on the 9F as well. You do not get that on the spring drive. However, you do get a beautiful black, deep black dial. Other than that, the dial setups are pretty similar. You have the Grand SEIKO logo just below the 12 o'clock index. And then of course, right above the 6 o'clock index, it says GMT. However, of course, the spring drive does say spring drive on it as well. This is a $6,200 watch. So the spring drive comes in at $6,200, while the 9F comes in at $4,500. So it depends on whether or not you like the look. There is one other design difference that I want to discuss. The lugs are very different in shape and in look, and they're also a little bit shorter. So the lug span is a little bit shorter. The lug to lug on the Quartz version is about 46.3 millimeters, and then it's a little bit longer on the spring drive. The spring drive is 47.9 millimeters. So it does make it wear a little bit larger, and it visually looks a little bit larger on your wrist. There is one other difference that I do want to mention. It is the clasp. On the spring drive, you do get micro adjust because you get that larger sport, that Grand SEIKO Sport clasp, while you get the smaller clasp on the 9F without any micro adjust. So that is definitely a win for the spring drive. On my wrist today, I have my IWC GST perpetual calendar chronograph with moon phase. That is an aventurine dial for that moon phase with a gold moon. When you move it around, you can see it. It's a really nice 18 karat gold moon. Beautiful watch in titanium. There is the spring drive on my 7.5 inch wrist. This is around a 40 millimeter watch, 40.2. And then of course you have a 14.1 millimeter thickness, and the lug to lug is around 47.9 millimeters. And here is the 9F on my 7.5 inch wrist. And this one is around 39.9 millimeters with a 13.1 millimeter thickness, 46.4 millimeter lug to lug. Very different lug style as well, very angular watch. So you have to like the case look of this watch to really want to buy it. Well, there is the lume. On the left side of the screen is the 9F. On the right side of the screen is the spring drive. You can see the spring drive has a lot less lume on the dial, physically on the dial. You just have these little dashes by each of the primary indices, so just the 12, 9, 3, and 6. You do not get lume on the second hands for either of these watches. I wish there was a little bit. I always complain about that because I like to see that my watch is working in the dark. Other than that, you do get lume on the GMT hands. Obviously a little bit more lume on the GMT hand for the spring drive because it is larger. That's the only difference. Otherwise, the hands look very equally lumed. Very nice lume on the 9F. The only disappointing thing is that they replaced the index at 4 o'clock with the date. So obviously there is no lume there, and it looks weird, sort of cut off right there in the dark. Other than that, no real complaints. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Please also don't forget to check out exquisite timepieces They've lent in these watches to the channel like I mentioned before. They are an authorized dealer for many brands, including SEIKO and Grand Seiko and Longines and all the brands that I love to feature here on my channel. So definitely stop by their brick and mortar store down in Naples, Florida. Tell them Watch Chris sent you. Go on their website. They have tons of watches on there that you can buy directly from their website. So if you end up buying something from them, please tell them that Watch Chris sent you. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. I will catch you guys in the next video.